Hey everybody, this is Grace. In this video, I'm going to talk about cognitive dissonance and gaslighting and put a little twist on it, and about people who have been in narcissistic relationships, and or what I've seen a lot is they also add to it histrionic behavior, and that's what I've seen in my life. Okay, and it's when somebody is experiencing the cognitive dissonance. They're in a relationship with somebody who's narcissistic. It could be somebody who's narcissist, but I'm not diagnosing anybody. And people are warning them that this person is very narcissistic, and they just simply don't believe it. They cannot see that this person is that way. Well, we all can understand, they've probably been love bombed, and they were, the other person, the narcissistic person, has done the love bombing, telling them everything they want to hear and how great they are and how wonderful. And quite often it's that they copy what the person, not either what the person wants and or actually, they are just like that person. They have the same likes. They love the same things, the same restaurants and stuff like that. And they put themselves out, the narcissistic person, to be such a great, wonderful person. All right, now their victim, they think that they're great, that narcissistic person is great, even when there's proof that says otherwise. Okay, there's actual proof that, no, this person isn't that great. And they fail to really accept anything, like there's actual the proof there, that evidence. They refuse to accept it. They don't want to believe it. So, okay, so basically the victim is feeling some kind of psychological distress. They're confused. They see the evidence. They hear from other people. Here's the evidence. They might say, this is what they did to me. This is, they did that and that. And, or like the ex says that. But they still don't want to believe it, period. No matter how much evidence is there. There might even be like a police report that the ex shows. They still don't want to believe it. Okay, and they might think that the ex shows it, that the ex is somehow, gaslighting them, telling them basically how I've always seen it. Gaslighting is when somebody tries to tell you that your reality isn't real. Okay, now the victim in this, their reality is not real. It is, they've been, they've been convinced of that probably by the narcissistic person, that they're wonderful, that they're great. And this can often happen, like during the relationship when they're trying to reel the person in. And so they're saying anybody who says anything to the contrary, anybody who says this, this person is narcissistic, they're seeing them as gaslighting them. Okay, that they're, like I just said, that their reality isn't real, that what they think is wrong, and they need to change it. Well, in this kind of case, that would be true. But are they going to do it? That's a big question. But anyway, I'm looking at some notes that I had written down whenever I was thinking about this. And so that's one whole scene right there. Let's go to another one. And I wrote down, they don't social distance yet knowing it can do harm. As an example. Yeah, these days with the pandemic and all, and it's just past Memorial Day, 2 days later, and we've seen all the, of course they cherry picked, and we saw a lot of people on the, beaches and in the clubs and in the restaurants and stores and all these things, and they weren't a lot of people weren't social distancing. We saw a lot that were, who were, and Yeah, for some people, they do seem to believe that just because they don't want to wear the mask, they don't, or face coverings, or they don't want to, they they don't want to social distance. They will trick their own minds into believing that it doesn't matter. That if you do that, it could be even more harm. Somehow they would fool themselves into that because they simply don't want to believe it, even though there's evidence with all the climbing and claiming. Probably today, I would say today is May 27th, 2020. I would say that today is probably the day that in the United States the death toll is going to be over 100,000 if it isn't already. It's 11:07 a.m. I haven't checked the news yet. And it's so sad. I mean, they will fool themselves, and they will even try to say that these numbers are wrong. That's just so totally wrong that they do that. They're taking away from these people who actually suffered and died and the families who survived them. They're just taking it away and saying the numbers are wrong, and they think the numbers are less. Well, the experts are saying the numbers are actually more. Okay? But they're not going to believe that. They don't want to believe that. They don't want to because they don't want to, things in their lives have changed, and they don't want to change. Okay? They just simply don't want to believe it. Even though there's all that evidence out there, they just don't want to believe it. And I have seen so many conspiracy theories, heard about them, read them, people putting up so many different ones, like that the one of wearing a mask can do you harm. Well, there are some people that wearing a mask can. There are very few. Very special situations, very few, yeah. But the mask, from what I've read, surgical masks, these were invented in the late 1800s, and people have been wearing them since, since then, probably 1900s and all, healthcare professionals. And if you're thinking, all these healthcare professionals would have been, are you seeing them dropping like flies? Now, I'm sure there are some kind of rules of how long you should wear them, how often. I'm sure of that. I am not the person to tell you that. You go and search for it yourself, and don't go and search for, if you're that type, to search for confirmation bias that, somebody's saying, yeah, you shouldn't, because you could probably find plenty of that kind of misinformation. But find real, factual information, not just somebody doing a YouTube video or writing a blog or, just trying to say, give a negative reason or trying to, feed people what they want to hear. But go in, and that's another thing. They're trying to discredit the actual professionals. That's very sad. If I know one thing, like narcissistic behavior to me, not just to me, is when people think they know better than the actual voices of authority. They think their voices are the authority. But anyway, okay, I'm going to go ahead and they might tell you this. Some people are telling you this, by the way. Yeah, because they're hoping. They actually, I saw recently people talking about natural selection. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up. If you have a comment, go ahead and leave it below. And if you want to subscribe, click that circle icon that popped up. If you want to watch another video, click one of the rectangles that pop up. I'll talk to you on another video.